Hey YouTube, Pokemon trainer Harry Ghost here, and today I am bringing a very fun Mega Gardevoir team. Gardevoir, in my personal opinion, really appreciates having access to its Mega Evolution because prior to Mega Gardevoir, Gardevoir felt like such a lackluster Pokemon. Like it had decent 125 base special attack, but its speed is pretty middling with just base 80, and its abilities, trace, synchronize, and telepathy are all pretty situational. But Mega Gardevoir has phenomenal stats. It has 165 base special attack, pretty good 100 base speed, and its ability Pixelate boosts the power of its normal type turned fairy type moves. So yeah, as we can see from the team preview, we are running Gardevoir with the Gardevoirite, Focus Aerodactyl, Lumberry Kangaskhan, Citrusberry Sinistra, White Hub Slash, and Leftovers Corviknight. So yeah, let's just jump right into the battles. So my first opponent, Bench Factor, is running a Mega Frostlass team. By the way, guys, if you are enjoying these narrated VGC battles, please be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. My opponent leads off with Frostlass and Vespilegion, while I lead off with my Kangaskhan and my Gardevoir. I trace the opponent's Frostlass's Snow Cloak, which could potentially be helpful if my opponent Mega Evolves their Frostlass into Mega Frostlass. I could get an evasion boost, but I have no intention of doing that. I am going to click the Mega Evolution button. So as predicted, my opponent does Mega Evolve their Frostlass into Mega Frostlass, and I Mega Evolve my Gardevoir into Mega Gardevoir and click Fake Out with my Kangaskhan. Because my Kangaskhan has the scrappy ability, it has free reign, no ghost type, which my opponent has both of their ghost types in front of me. I can choose and pick my target, and I attack into the Mega Frostlass because I know that without any boosts, last respects, because I max defense Mega Gardevoir will not do much damage to me, and Frostlass has a much higher chance of doing much more damage with Shadow Ball or Blizzard Spam. So I attack into the Mega Frostlass and click Calm Mind with my Mega Gardevoir. Now this board situation is pretty bad for me because normally to counter Sneasler I protect with my Gardevoir, switching my Kangaskhan to my Sinistra and Rage Powder. However, because my opponent has a Mega Frostlass in front of me, I cannot afford to do that because Sinistra will get absolutely destroyed by Stab Blizzard from Mega Frostlass's 140 base special attack. So instead, my opponent tries to click Fake Out Shadow Ball into my protecting Mega Gardevoir. So this was a pretty good protect on my part, and I click Double Edge into Sneasler, trying to knock it out, but unfortunately Sneasler lives at a very low amount of health. So I am forced to switch out my +1/+1 Mega Gardevoir into my Kangaskhan because I do not want to take Dire Claw or Poison Jab or whatever Gunk Shot. I do not want to be taking all that damage. I switch out my Mega Gardevoir into my Sinistra. My opponent attacks my Sinistra with Dire Claw, poisons me, and Stab Blizzard from my opponent's Mega Frostlass will be able to KO my Sinistra and bring my Kangaskhan very low. Thanks to my Sinistra's hospitality, Kangaskhan is able to live, and I am able to retaliate with Stab Double Edge into my opponent's Mega Frostlass. Mega Frostlass lives because of the defense no boost. But now I have a free board state. I have an Aerodactyl in the back, and I can bring in my Mega Gardevoir and my Aerodactyl. Easily click Tailwind, Rock Slide, and calm, click Calm Mind or attack with Hyper Voice. This turn I predict my opponent to try to protect some of their Pokemon, either double protect with both Sneasler or Frostlass, or with just Frostless or with just Sneasler. So I click Tailwind, and predicting their protects, I click Calm Mind instead of attacking. My opponent switches out their Sneasler because he does not want to take unnecessary damage with Sneasler or wanted to get knocked out. I click Tailwind, my opponent's Frostless does not protect. That means they are going for an attack. Hopefully they are not taking Shadow Ball into my Gardevoir because I will be taking a lot of damage. They click Blizzard, but because I have Focus Sash on my Aerodactyl, I am able to live with my Focus Sash. And I get a free Calm Mind because there was no Shadow Ball clicked into my Mega Gardevoir. This turn I go for Rock Slide, trying to KO the Frostlass and get single target Hyper Voice into my opponent's Garchomp. So as my opponent makes their move, my opponent protects their Mega Frostlass, and I click Rock Slide and stab Hyper Voice into my opponent's Garchomp. Garchomp gets critted by Rock Slide, which does more damage than it should have taken, but it does not matter because I did click stab Hyper Voice, and stab Hyper Voice Fairy type Pixelate boosted is enough to KO my opponent's Garchomp. The snow stops, my opponent switches in their Sneasler once again. Slight spoilers, I guess, because they are just picking their turns. So yeah, my opponent switches in Sneasler. Now I expect them to click Fake Out into my Aerodactyl, trying to finish my Aerodactyl off so that I have 1 versus 3 situation. So predicting that, I click Protect on my Aerodactyl and attack with my Mega Gardevoir. This could have gone pretty terribly if they faked out my Mega Gardevoir, but as I predicted, they do click Fake Out into my Aerodactyl, trying to finish me off and make the situation of 1 versus 3. But unfortunately for them, I get the prediction correctly and KO both the opposing Mega Frostlass and the Sneasler. My opponent's last Pokemon is the Basculegion, which switched out on the first turn of the battle. Now potentially my opponent can try to KO my Aerodactyl with Aqua Jet, but if they lock themselves into Aqua Jet will not KO me because I am max defense Gardevoir, as I said. So my opponent decides to not click Aqua Jet and decides to click Last Respects in or anything else, Wave Crash maybe. My opponent is thinking, trying to find a winning situation here. So yeah, my opponent does not click Aqua Jet. They click maybe Wave Crash or Last Respects, we would never know, because a combination of from a max attack Aerodactyl and stab Hyper Voice is enough to KO the opposing Basculegion, and we defeat my opponent Banj Factor. Now moving on to the next battle. This is versus Apache 4. My opponent leads off with Sneasler and Meganium, as I lead off with my Kangaskhan and Gardevoir. I trace the Unburden from my opponent's Sneasler, but because I am holding a Mega Stone, I will never be able to get my Unburden boost. But once again, I have no intention of making use of my opponent's abilities. Maybe Synchronize would have been better on this Gardevoir set. I could have switched into potential Willow Waves, Thunder Waves, and put that status back on my opponent, but fine, we are running Trace. I ran Trace because of Intimidate spam. I can potentially not double intimidate, but intimidate my opponent with if they lead with Incineroar, if I Trace Intimidate. Very situational, as I said. Gardevoir's abilities are very situational. So yeah, this turn I Mega Evolve my Mega Gardevoir and click Fake Out into my opponent's Sneasler, and as my opponent does not go for a fake out of its own, and they do not mega evolve with their Meganium. So I was expecting them to be like coaching physical Meganium, I don't know, but they do click Solar Beam with their Meganium, and because they are not Mega Meganium, they do not get the Solar Beam off in one turn because Meganium does not get Mega Soul, only Mega Meganium gets that. Now, as I was telling in the first battle, my way of dealing with Sneasler is protect switch in Sinistra. I protect with my Mega Gardevoir switch in the Sinistra. And as my opponent does, try to click Dire Claw into my Mega Gardevoir, which I protect from it, and Solar Beam into my Mega Gardevoir as well. So once again, my double protect comes through. Now this turn I can click Hyper Voice and Rage Powder with my Sinistra, and this seems pretty. Basically, my opponent's Sneasler is pretty much countered because they cannot attack my Mega Gardevoir. This turn my opponent Mega evolves into Mega Meganium, so I expect that they forgot to click Mega Evolution with their Meganium on very first turn. Dire Claw does around less than 50% health, puts me to sleep. Hyper Voice finishes the opponent's Sneasler, does a lot of damage to my opponent's Mega Meganium, plus one special attack as well because we did get a Calm Mind boost on the very first turn. Mega Soul Weather Ball is able to finish off my Sinistra. Now I switch in my Kangaskhan back, trying to get more fake out pressure. In comes my Kangaskhan, and my opponent sends in their Archarodon trying to pressure my Mega Gardevoir, but I am at +1 special defense as well. I click fake out into my opponent's Mega Meganium because I expect their Archarodon to protect, because if they don't protect, predicting my fake out into the Archarodon, because Mega Meganium will easily go down to another Hyper Voice. So I expect them to protect with their Archarodon, but they switch out their Archarodon, which is fine by me because in the incoming Basculegion now takes 77% of their health, of its health. In comes the Archarodon once again, but it does not matter. My opponent could potentially be Scarf Last Respects, so I click protect with my Gardevoir, and because I'm scrappy, I will be able to finish off this Basculegion with Stab Double Edge. So my opponent is faster than my Kangaskhan, so that means it is Choice Scarf. Last Respects is blocked by the Protect, Double Edge finishes off the Basculegion. And my opponent goes for Aura Sphere because they are missing body press on Archarodon that much. I guess they are running Aura Sphere, which is fine. With Electro Shot boost, Aura Sphere is also going to do a lot of damage. My opponent has only Archarodon left while I have 3 Pokemon still remaining. Stab Hyper Voice is going to KO, not KO, bring it down pretty low so that my Kangaskhan low kick can KO. So yeah, this combined effort of Mega Gardevoir's Hyper Voice and low kick from my Kangaskhan is able to finish off my opponent's Archarodon, and we defeat Apache 4. So yeah, we won another battle with Calm Mind Mega Gardevoir. So my last opponent is someone with a Japanese or Korean. Once again, I am not that good with foreign languages, but yeah, they are running a Mega Floet team. And my opponent leads off with Sneasler, Shiny Sneasler and Aerodactyl, as I lead off with my Gardevoir and Kangaskhan as expected. Like as I said, Fake Out allows me to click Calm Mind a lot easier. So this turn, just like my previous opponent, I forget to click Mega Evolution on my own Gardevoir, and I expect them to click a super effective poison type attack into my Gardevoir. So I go for Fake Out into my opponent's Sneasler, but instead of clicking a poison type move, they click fake out. So essentially my fake out gets wasted. I could have potentially faked out the Aerodactyl. I get crit by my opponent's Sneasler's fake out as well. So once again, this turn I am in a bad situation versus a Sneasler. So I protect with my Gardevoir and switch in my Sinistra to redirect my opponent's Sneasler's poison type attacks. So yeah, I protect so in comes my Sinistra. I protect with my Gardevoir, regain some of my health which I lost to that crit fake out. My opponent expects me to Mega Evolve with my Gardevoir and click Hyper Voice, so they click Wide Guard to protect themselves from stab Hyper Voice as they click Close Combat into my Kangaskhan slot, which is why they wanted to protect themselves from stab Hyper Voice. That Close Combat part got clipped out, unfortunately, because yeah, this 30-second recording feature is sometimes the clips get, we miss out on those clips. My opponent, since there is no more Kangaskhan to close combat, now they decide to focus their attention on the Mega Gardevoir, click Poison Jab into Mega Gardevoir slot, but I switch in my AG Slash and click Trick Room with my Sinistra. So now we are at the speed advantage. We did lose some of our health with Rock Slide, but that is fine. Now I can easily KO this Sneasler with Poltergeist or Iron Head or something. So my opponent decides to switch in their AG Slash counter, the King Gambit. My opponent gets a 50% protect because no wait, they clicked Rock Slide last turn. Wait, I am being kind of bad right now, but yeah, it is not a double protect. They did click Rock Slide last turn, fine. So yeah, Poltergeist does do a decent amount of damage to the incoming King Gambit. I click Matcha Gotcha, trying to get a burn on the Aerodactyl Sneasler, but of course I am clicking Matcha Gotcha, so I am not going to get any burns. Aerodactyl protected itself, so obviously it is not going to get burned, but I didn't get a burn on the King Gambit as well. I do have a way to threaten my opponent's King Gambit with Sacred Sword, and I can redirect super effective Dark Stab with my Sinistra once again. So that is what I do. I click Sacred Sword. We did see Choppleberry on my opponent's King Gambit from the Poltergeist last turn, but I'm hoping that because King Gambit is at 63% health, hopefully Sacred Sword, because I'm max attack AG Slash, it will be able to KO it. I click Sacred Sword, but unfortunately King Gambit, because it is not stab, is able to live at 6% health. Kowtow play from my opponent's King Gambit brings Sinistra down very low, but we eat a Citrus Berry so that incoming Rock Slide is not able to KO my Sinistra. Now this turn I am at very low health, and because I am Brave Nature AG Slash and since they are a Tailwind team, I don't expect them to be minimum speed King Gambit, so I do expect them to click Sucker Punch trying to finish my Pokemon off. So instead of attacking, I can just click King Shield and try to heal myself with Life Dew. So hopefully this play works out and they don't click Kowtow Cleave into my Sinistra slot, as my opponent is trying to predict me and is taking time for their plays. They definitely should. You should take as much time as I always say to make your plays. I click King Shield as my opponent's Aerodactyl protects itself from a potential Matcha Gotcha plus Iron Head double KO. Sucker Punch gets predicted as I successfully avoid the Sucker Punch by clicking Life Dew King Shield. So they do not go for Kowtow Cleave because I am slower than them. Instead, they try to finish me off with Sucker Punch, but it does not work for them. Now, once again, I can easily finish off this King Gambit. Now, because I am at in my shield form, Sucker Punch will not KO me, and I click Rage Powder, trying to redirect any potential counter play in case they are actually slower than me. Because yeah, till now I am always underspeeding my opponent's King Gambit. Once again, they try to click Sucker Punch, but Rage Powder redirects the attack, and Iron Head is able to finish off my opponent's King Gambit. In comes my opponent's Sneasler, and trying to threaten my Sinistra, because obviously, unless Sneasler carries Throat Chop or any Night Slash or something, they cannot target my AG Slash. And in comes my opponent's Floet as well. Now I try to click Trick Room, and because I am in Shields form, because I am in Blade form right now, I need to get into Shields form, because Mega Floet's Fairy Aura boosted even resisted attacks will do a lot of damage to Blade form AG Slash. So I click King Shield, trying to avoid taking unnecessary damage in Blade form. So I switch into my Shields form, trying to take as less damage as possible. And I try to click Trick Room so that I can get the speed advantage once again. But my opponent clicks Poison Jab as expected into my Sinistra, and Dazzling Gleam is able to finish off my Sinistra. But that is fine, because I do have Fake Out Pressure once again, and AG Slash, now since it is in its Shields form, it will take reduced damage, and I threaten the opposing Floet and Sneasler and Aerodactyl with Iron Head. So I bring in my Fake Out Pressure Pokemon, try to click Fake Out into my opponent's Sneasler so that it cannot go for close combat as it tried once before when I switched into my Sinistra. My opponent clicks Double Protect with Sneasler so they protect with their Sneasler and they protect with their Floet, not trying to take Fake Out plus Iron Head combo. That is understandable. I switch into my Blade form once again, trying to attack into Sneasler, because Sneasler has a much higher chance of KOing my Kangaskhan with Stab, Close Combat, or it threatens my Gardevoir as well with Stab, Poison Jab. So I try to focus on the Sneasler first. Now this turn I am threatened by my opponent's offensive pressure with Close Combat into my Kangaskhan and spread Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast. So I click Double Protect of my own this turn. As Close Combat comes through and Dazzling Gleam comes through, trying to finish off my Kangaskhan in case I am Focus Sash Kangaskhan or something, which my opponent does not know that I am Lumberry, obviously. So now this turn, since my opponent is so rigorously attacking this Kangaskhan, I expect them that they are going to click Close Combat Dazzling Gleam once again into the Kangaskhan slot. So I switch out my Kangaskhan into my Mega Gardevoir, which quad resists Stab, Close Combat because of its Psychic and Fairy typing. Once again I trace Unburden, which I could have potentially traced Fairy Aura, even though it does not matter because Fairy Aura does not stack with one another. If there are multiple Pokemon on the field with Fairy Aura, the effect does not stack. Fairy Aura is only one boost. My opponent tries to click Close Combat into my Kangaskhan slot, but because of my switch, I am able to take it easily, and Stab Iron Head is able to finish off my opponent's Sneasler. Now, my opponent's last Pokemon is Aerodactyl, and they can potentially click Tailwind and then outspeed and then outspeed my team with both Floet and Aerodactyl. This turn, because I forgot to click Mega Evolution on the first turn, now I click my Mega Evolution button with my Mega Gardevoir. So yeah, I also decide to uh, go into my Shields form with King Shield. I Mega Evolve my Mega Gardevoir. I Mega Evolve my Gardevoir into Mega Gardevoir. Go for King Shield to go into my Shields form from my Blade form. My opponent tries to go for Rock Slide, trying to flinch down my AG Slash, but because we went for King Shield, we are we do not take any damage from Rock Slide, and Stab Hyper Voice, even without any Calm Mind boost, is able to do a lot of damage, brings Floet below 50%, and AG Slash takes a lot of damage, and Aerodactyl takes a lot of damage as well. Sorry, I misremembered, not misremembered, misnamed the opponent's Pokemon with beginning with A. So now I switch in my Kangaskhan once again for fake out pressure. Try to click King Shield this turn because I do expect my opponent to click double protect with their Pokemon. So if I try to attack this turn with my AG Slash, I will be forced into Blade form, and then once again I will have to King Shield, go back into my Shields form. So predicting a double protect from my opponent, I do click King Shield once again, so that I do not switch into my Blade form this turn. I do get a successful double protect, which does not matter because I didn't attack, and none of my Pokemon attacked because they went for double protect. But because I went for King Shield and did not attack this turn, I am still in my Blade form. I am still in my Shield form and did not turn into my Blade form. So I will be taking reduced damage from whatever resisted attacks my opponent has, because I do not think my opponent has any put super effective attacks into my AG Slash now. Their only means of dealing damage to my AG Slash was the King Gambit, which I KO'd early into the battle. Rock Slide Dazzling Gleam is not able to KO my Kangaskhan, but unfortunately we do get finished with my Kangaskhan. But thankfully we did not get finished with my AG Slash, so Stab Iron Head is able to finish off my opponent's Floet, and now my opponent is only left with their Aerodactyl, and because Aerodactyl does not have any super effective moves to deal with my AG Slash, they click the forfeit button. So yeah, we win this battle against my opponent. So yeah, these were the battles and this was the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.